when I was 12, knowing that I wanted to be a news reporter, set my path to where I am now. Being a news reporter gave me a voice in my community, and then fast forward to getting married and finding out that my daughters had cystic fibrosis, it gave me a platform to talk about the disease and raise awareness in the Metro Detroit area.
Yes.
So, yeah, I feel like my entire life purpose has led to where I am today, but that it was always all planned out that way.
Yeah. There's a fair number of people who don't really know much about cystic fibrosis. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of challenges that put in your lives?
Sure. Their lives? It's a genetic disease that causes chronic and fatal lung infections and interferes with digestion, and there's no cure right now, and it affects every organ. There's fabulous new medications coming out now, so that's fantastic. There's a lot of hope, but my daughters have suffered, in the hospital with lung infections and pneumonia and PICC lines and sinus-related things and intestinal issues. And some people have diabetic problems, but it affects every organ. And the life expectancy when my daughters were born was 19. So now they're 22 and 25. Yay. So they've outlived that, life expectancy. And if you're born today with cystic fibrosis, the life expectancy is about 47, which is so much better, but I would be dead already if I had CF, which I don't.
Thankfully.
So each parent has to have a recessive gene. And my husband Joe and myself didn't know we were carriers. I was born Ashkenazi Jewish and my husband Irish Catholic. And those are the two most common groups, ethnicities that are CF carriers, although it's in every ethnicity, African American, Muslim, everything. It affects everyone. Yeah.
I can only imagine the kind of impact that had on you as your kids were growing up.
It did, but from the start, except for getting the initial diagnosis, and Molly was diagnosed first. We actually diagnosed her because we kept thinking she tasted salty when we kissed her, and we called the pediatrician. And the pediatrician said, "Oh, just go back to work. You're a first-time mom. Everything is fine." And I was like, no, something is wrong. And she blew me off for like about a month. And I'm like, there's more symptoms. I'm reading more about it. I'm positive she has cystic fibrosis. And I was heading to a breaking news story. I had called her again, the pediatrician, and said she has to be tested tomorrow. Like, we're not waiting anymore. So Molly was tested, and then I was on my way to a breaking news story, and the pediatrician called me, and she's like, "Pull over." I'm like, "I know what you're going to tell me. I know she has CF." She's like, "She does. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you," and and we're still friends with that pediatrician because it's a learning thing for everyone, the pediatrician, us. Right. But after that initial diagnosis, my husband has 7 siblings, and I have 2. Honestly, the first thing we thought was, wait a second, does that mean we can't have any more kids? Because we wanted a big family. Right. He wanted 6. I said, okay, 4 kids. But still, that was initially the first thing we thought of. And then what we thought after that was we have to educate ourselves, and we're going to make a great life for Molly.
Yeah.
So we're going to make this, great. And then just to tell you, since we're on the subject, is we decided to have another child. And we did stop after Emily. And in those young years of our young marriage and just having Molly, we thought, oh, it couldn't happen twice. You can't have 2 kids with CF.
Right.
Well, there's a 1 in 4 chance with each pregnancy, and Emily does have CF. And we just have the 2 girls.
Right.
But no regrets. The girls know everything that happened. We don't keep anything from them. So right away, we just decided we're going to have the best life ever. And I have to say that the gifts that we have received from cystic fibrosis and everyone we've met in our journey, I would not want my girls to have CF if there was a choice.
Right.
But it's been okay, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense.
So
It's
many
such a
gifts
blessing,
from
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And they realize it too.
yeah. They're all gifted in that way.
Right.
It's a strange thing to say, isn't it?
It is.
But, yeah.
I think people, because whenever you tell someone your girls have CF, they're like, oh, I'm so
Right.
sorry. Sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
what's worse to you? Like, whatever that person's biggest fear is, I have other bigger fears, and it's not CF. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
God bless people who have a child in a wheelchair, but to me that's more difficult. You've got the whole wheelchair thing, you've got ramps, you have bigger challenges, it's visible, people see the wheelchair, they look down at you already, you know, that's a whole different thing. So
Right.
for me that would be a bigger challenge. So it's all in perspective. But for
It
somebody
is.
who has a child in a wheelchair, they're like, that's a piece of cake, they're gonna be fine, I'm putting the wheelchair in the car, I'm used to it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So,
You guys don't take a whole lot of life for granted, I'm sure.
no.
Yeah. Okay, so you've had a really, really tough way to go. Your perspective is amazing. You decided to start a foundation. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, in 2010, I started the Bonnell Foundation Living with Cystic Fibrosis. We also call it Roadmap to Cystic Fibrosis because it's your whole path and, you know, the way that you go through life with cystic fibrosis. And the reason I started it was because I found that there were research foundations, but there wasn't a foundation, as far as I knew, that was helping parents with medical assistance and lung transplant grants and college scholarships. There wasn't a focus on parents. It was more like, hey, help us fundraise for research, which is crucially important.
Yeah.
Have to have that. But that's why I started it, and then the response was unbelievable. People were like, this is great, oh my gosh, you know, and we get emails for assistance every day.
Wow. Wow.
It's grown. We've given out $500,000 in medical assistance.
That's amazing.
And that's just me doing the foundation part-time.
Right.
You know, so yes, I've been able to travel all over the country and talk to CF parents and get involved.
So when you're doing something like this, of course, there's fundraising, there's finding donors, people to help contribute resources to help all these people, and then there's all the people who are dealing with that in everyday life. How do they find you, Laura? How do they find your foundation?
They can find us on the web, or they can call us, but on the website it's thebonnellfoundation.org.
Okay.
And I guess I should spell it because it's B as in boy,
Yeah.
ONNELL, thebonnellfoundation.org.
Okay. Very good.
And then if they want to call us, it's 844 cystic fibrosis.
Oh, good number. Yeah.
But some people don't know how to spell cystic fibrosis, but it's cystic and then fibrosis, and people can Google that. But
Got it.
Yeah, 844 cystic fibrosis, they can get a hold of us.
That's perfect. Thank you.